You're listening to the Momfreeneur Network podcast, and I am your host, Trisha Sandalo, banker turned stay at home mom of three, and now a seven figure global business leader to over 10,000 people that I built from home through social media. Here we talk about the journey of balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship, sharing tips and stories and advice to help you thrive both at home and in your business. Join us as we explore how to build a brand online and offline that allows you to get paid by being who you are and sharing your unique talents and skills, business growth, work-life balance, and living with purpose. Let's dive in. The Momfreeneur Network podcast, and I am so excited because finally, after how many years? I've been putting this on my vision board. I have putting this on my planner. And it took me a while to finally get that confidence to launch my own podcast. One of my blocks was I don't have a nice voice. I don't have an ugly voice too, but I always had that perception for you to have a podcast, you have to have a voice over kind of voice, voiced over artist kind of voice. And so that was one of the things that's keeping me from launching a podcast. But with so much self-love, so much acceptance for myself, I finally realized I don't need to have a voice over artist kind of voice. I just need to have my story and I just need to put it out there. And another reason why it took me a while to launch my podcast was because the technical stuff was so overwhelming. But thanks to YouTube University, I was able to figure out how to finally set up my own podcast. And that's why you're here. And thank you. Thank you so much for listening, for tuning in, for taking your time. I don't know what you're doing right now. Maybe you're washing the plates, you're on your way to the office, you're taking care of your baby. I'm just so glad that you're here and you are here listening because you need to hear this. This is not an accident. So for today's episode, I just want to walk you through my journey, how a stay-at-home mom became a seven-figure global business leader to 10,000 people community worldwide, and how I decided to build a network called Momfreeneur. So, I have always been an entrepreneur at heart. I remember starting to sell things when I was in grade school so I could have extra money for my allowance. I think it was born out of lack. Being raised by a single mom, I had that notion that my mama needed to work hard so we could have money. And working hard for me meant she needs to be away from me. And I had that feeling if I have money for myself, then maybe that would stop her from being away. And maybe that's why ever since I was a kid, I always had that mindset that I should have an extra money. Because having an extra money meant not being away from your family, not being away from your mama. And now that I am a mom myself, ever since I gave birth to my firstborn 7 years ago, I have never left this house for work. And if you're going to tell me that 7 years ago, I would not believe you because I thought that the only way for us to survive was to work for a 9 to 5 job. But going back to my story, there was also a time when I was in grade school. My mom would ask me to bring chocolates. It was called Safari. And I would sell them to my classmates. And in high school, I became known as the classmate who brought a bucket to school to sell a chocolate iced bar. And in college, I sold Victoria's Secret perfumes, Bath and Body Works. That time when you're from the Philippines, you couldn't find these colognes in the department store. You need to have someone from the States to bring it for you so you can sell them. And that's why it was so trending that time. During the summer of my junior year, I asked our principal if he could hire me for a summer job. Though it was not a typical offering at our school, he accepted because I was so eager to work. So I was assigned to the school library where I pack books for new students. I was paid 100 pesos per day, which I used to buy school supplies for my senior year. And that was my first job. After my first job as an assistant to the librarian, I was so excited to turn 16 years old. Do you know why? Because I was so excited to be a service crew at McDonald's. And that time, they would only accept 16 years old above. And I was 15 that time, but I was turning 16 that year. So I applied and really requested and asked them if they could hire me, and I will just have my mom sign for that waiver. So finally, I was able to have a job at McDonald's, and I really love their tagline, think like a customer. And until now, I still bring that with me. And I learned so many things in the food and service industry. I would always clean every table like how I want my table to be if I were the customer. And I would always clean every toilet like how I want my toilet if I were the customer. Think like a customer. So there was also a time in college where I worked as a call center agent since my schedule at school was from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day. So I said, what am I gonna do during daytime? And so I applied as a call center agent. So I had all these jobs, service crew, a call center agent, brand ambassadress, and had my side hustles before I was 19 years old. I graduated at the age of 19 and immediately had a job, but I was assigned in Manila. I was in the BPO industry, but I only survived for 3 months. I was so homesick. I didn't, expect that I would feel that way because I was so excited to live away from home. So after 3 months of working in the metro, I decided to go home and applied as a banker. Now, here's another story. When I applied as a banker, I was still 19 years old, and my bachelor's degree was public administration. I had only few units for finance and accounting. And so since I was so young, my interviewer, who was the regional head that time, he told me he couldn't hire me because I needed to enroll at least 18 units of accounting and finance courses or subjects. But I was already so eager to work. And I remember when he was about to give me my application and my resume. So I think he was asking, so what should you do now, or where should you go? I just answered him upfront, sir, I think you should hire me. And that blew him up and also told me this is the first time in my 30 years as an interviewer or as an area manager. This was the first time that an applicant told me upfront that I should hire her. You must be good in selling yourself. Okay, you're hired. And boom, I had my first job as a banker. But I was assigned so far away from home. I was assigned 8 hours away from home by land. When I already had my job as a banker, I still had side hustle. So I would still do hosting gigs, and I sold anything online. I sold slippers, watches, gadgets, and various other items. So my clients would leave their stuff with me to resell. And during my days off, I would visit my customers' houses to deliver their goods. One of my banker friends jokingly said, it's as if I have five kids to feed because of my hustle. Because even if I had a full time job, I always had a side hustle. After I finished my 2 year contract with that company, I decided I wanted to travel abroad and, explore the world. So I applied as an au pair in Europe, and I was so grateful because I was immediately hired. But I really thought that that was the start of my European dream. But sadly, they did not follow the contract. So, to give you a context, an au pair is a culture exchange program. So, if you're an au pair, you should not be going to Europe or to other countries for work. You are there to learn their culture and have a host family and just do minimal works for your allowance. But what they were looking was a domestic helper. They just hired an au pair so they could pay less. It was autumn in the Netherlands, and I felt like I was about to lose it. But grateful for my friends there, they were able to help me, and I was able to leave my host family after 10 days. So I was in Europe for 10 days, and I really thought I knew everything about being away. I still had that homesickness and yeah, maybe I wasn't really that ready yet, but I remember when I left Amsterdam, I told myself someday I'm going to come back here with the love of my life, and I won't be coming here because of work. I will be coming here because of leisure. So after my European tour for 10 days, I went back again to the Philippines and applied as a banker again. And I'm so grateful because I was hired and my salary was better compared to my first job. Maybe because I already had an experience. 2 years after, I got married and I moved from province to city. And here's another pivotal moment in my life. So during my first day at work, I had the worst experience. One of my bosses was so angry because I asked them what time would they leave. I mean, what time they would usually leave from work. And she was so offended. She said, "This is your first day of work and you are already asking what time are we going to go home?" And I don't know what made that question so offensive. So that already gave me a different feeling in that work environment. And there was also a time one of my bosses told me not to get pregnant. I know she didn't mean that way, but maybe because I was newly married. And so she jokingly said not to get pregnant because it would affect the organization or the team or the office, so to speak. But I got pregnant. I got pregnant 2 months after I was here in Cebu, and that started my anxiety. Maybe because of my hormones, but maybe because also of the words that was thrown at me before I got pregnant. That maybe I'd be a, a hustle in the environment, in the workspace. So every time I would go to work, I would feel very anxious. I would even cry waking up because I didn't want to work anymore in the bank. I was so tired and I was so anxious. I remember I would cry going to work. I wasn't really happy anymore. I asked my husband that time if maybe I could resign from work, but it was going to be difficult since that time we were just starting. We were newly married. But I'm so grateful for my husband because he supported me. And he just told me one day, you can pass your resignation letter. And I was so happy that time. I felt so relieved. And I promised him that even if I'm not working anymore in the bank, I will try my best to make money online. I became an ESL teacher for Japanese professionals and continued running my online shop because I started working at the age of 14. I didn't like the idea of working for someone else anymore and always risked doing business instead of staying in a 9 to 5 setup. And here we are to another pivotal moment in my life. So 2017, I accidentally became a business builder with a network marketing company called Young Living. This is the company that changed my life. Why am I saying it's accidental? Because I joined not for the business, but for their essential oils product. So, my Young Living journey started when I saw a post from a friend. It was actually a lavender essential oil, and on the background were her two kids sleeping. And her post was like they slept earlier than usual, and I was pregnant that time. So, I asked her what's these essential oil bottles are all about. And fast forward, I got my own kit because I was looking for a natural way to support my son's respiratory issue. So I, out of desperation, I got that essential oil kit and it changed our lives forever. So 7 years now, we don't use perfumes anymore. We are 90% toxin free home, and I never had to use my nebulizer more than 5 times. I used it when I had COVID 2021. But anyway, going back to building my Young Living business, because I love sharing anything online, anything that I love using, I casually shared about my essential oil products, how it helped us sleep better, how it helped support my son's health. One time, a friend asked me if she could get the kit. I went back to my friend who introduced to me. She told me, "You don't need my link because you need to create your link." And I said, "Why?" So she said, "Every time someone buys a kit from you, you get $50. Now $75, 2024. So I was so shocked because as a first time mom, it was difficult for me to run a business. And that time, I was just casually sharing my love for the oils and I get to have $50. How cool was that? And so I told her, if you told me about this, I would have signed up the moment I saw your post. But because she really wanted me to love the products first, that's why she told me about the business after. And I also told her, if you told me that this is a network marketing company, I would never signed up because I had a lot of traumatic experiences back in the days when I was in college. They would invite me for a coffee date and ended up being invited for a network marketing company, which I didn't like because I didn't like them hard selling their products and they don't even use it. They would hard sell you, telling you you get to earn this, you get a car, and I didn't like that. So I was just so shocked when I figured out Young Living was a network marketing business. And that's when I knew what a legit network marketing business is. It's word of mouth advertising. And we do that every day. We recommend products we love. It's just that we don't get paid, right? So we need to rewire people who are so scared of network marketing and let that be the person who will really introduce to them what a real network marketing is, which we do it, by the way, every day in our lives. Now, when I had my first paycheck, I was so surprised to earn 10,000 pesos more than my last pay as a banker. And I was just casually sharing. And that was another pivotal experience for me because I told myself, if I could earn this much just by casually sharing, how much more if I'm going to do this business seriously? So I assessed myself. I don't know if you do that, but I assess myself. Since I love the product so much and I like getting paid while enjoying the products, I assess myself why I wasn't successful with my previous jobs, with my previous businesses. And I noticed one pattern. Every time I would feel uncomfortable, I would give up. I would just leave the job, I would leave that business. And so I promised myself from that day onwards that if there will be times where I'm going to feel that again, I will stay. Uh, it's not like a, boyfriend girlfriend relationship, but that's what I promised myself. I want to be consistent and I want to show up even when it's hard, even when it's low season. I need to show up more for low seasons, not just on high seasons, not just during promos, not just during sales. Now, the challenge to me that time was I couldn't go out and meet my friends, my mommy friends, and to talk about the oils because I was a first time stay at home mom. I couldn't afford a nanny. I breastfed my baby. So I prayed to God and asked for his wisdom. And God gave me a gift of wisdom to learn about social media marketing. It was because of a post from one of our leaders and also an author, Lindsay Teague Moreno. I read her book, Getting Noticed, and that was the book that helped me market myself on social media. When I started building my presence, social media, I then learned about personal branding. I wanted to know how I could sell my essential oils without being salesy because we don't like being sold. We like to buy, but we don't like being sold. So it took me a while to learn about personal branding, how to tell your story. And I realized when you sell something, you are not selling the product. You are selling yourself. And that is my secret. Why, until now, whatever I sell online, I have an audience who would trust me and would buy anything from me. And that's how you build a strong business. Fast forward, I became a platinum leader to 9,000 people worldwide, all built online. And this business that I built on social media has allowed me to earn an income of around 13 million pesos in 7 years, plus all the free local and international trips to Singapore, Croatia, Spain, the Netherlands, and I still have free trips that are not claimed, free trips to USA and Ecuador. Now, despite my wins and successes, I experienced burnout year 2023. Last year, I was pregnant with my third child, and I felt that I was so tired already. I was not loving the business anymore. I hated the business, I hated the company, but I failed to realize that it was not their fault. It was my fault. I resented my business, but I failed to realize it was me who decided to run it that way. I was already a hustler, and I thought it was okay to always prioritize my business over myself. I tried to run my business in, short bursts of time, but ended up working almost constantly because I couldn't finish a task in one go. And that compromised my relationship with my husband, with my kids. I was so cranky. And I realized that was the reason most of my leaders who were moms were also burnt out Because I sold them the idea that you can do this business while you take care of your kids. While it's true in the first few months, but when you begin to build a team, you need to treat this as a business. So when I say you need to treat this as a business, you need to prioritize it. And it was such an humbling point of my life. And it taught me an important lesson that it's not about hustling harder. It's about working smarter and prioritizing what truly matters. You know, we are in this culture which demands so much from moms, so much expectation from moms, and always often pushing us to exhaustion. We need to advocate for happier and healthier moms. And 3 months ago, by the help of my mentor, that's how I had this vision of creating a community where we advocate for happier and healthier moms, prioritizing themselves, taking care of their family while still building their business. And boom! I was actually about to make sound effects like shing. But I know, it's so awkward. Anyway, that's why I launched the Momfreeneur network. Less hustle, more heart. And that's why you're listening to it right now. I built this community for moms who want to build a successful business while being present with their families. It's about finding balance and thriving without sacrificing well-being or family time. We need to advocate for happier moms. We were always taught to hustle, work harder. You know, I don't believe in that anymore. Yes, God blesses the works of our hands, but I don't think He likes it also when we work so much and leave our main responsibility, which is to take care of our family, to build our home. So that's my story, how a stay-at-home mom turned a business builder, now a podcaster, and a founder of the Momfreeneur network. To the moms who think working hard is the only option, I hope this podcast shows you a new way. And to share with you, 3 months ago, when I applied what I learned from my mentor, I have doubled our income. And I am so excited for you to learn what I have learned, because I was once there in your place. They say it is wise to learn from your mistake, but it is wiser to learn from other people's mistakes. So I hope through this podcast, you will learn how to do it your way, and you will learn from my journey. Because when I had that I'm done moment, that's when I invested myself to learn how to rewire my mind and work in a feminine way. We were always consumed that we should be bosses, girl boss, mom boss. Stop with that idea and let's get real. I'm sure most of us want more time with our kids and our family rather than being consumed by work. Thank you for listening to my story in this first episode of the Momfreeneur Network podcast. I hope my journey inspires you to find your own path to balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship. In the coming episodes, we'll dive into practical tips and strategies to help you start your own business on social media and build a brand that stands out. You will learn how to leverage your unique talents and skills to create a life of financial independence and purpose. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Share it with other moms who could benefit from our message. Follow me on social media for more updates and join our community where we support each other in living a life of less hustle and more heart. Until next time, stay inspired and keep thriving.